Hey everyone, I'm Esther Perez. Welcome back to my channel. Wanted to let you all know about this San Francisco trip that I took. It was definitely an on the whim type of trip. So my fiance, he was able to, fly out to San Francisco for work, and he let me know months in advance that I could go with him, but I wasn't taking it seriously because I have never really been a person that is pressed to go anywhere in California. I am, I would say, a Midwest or East Coast girl. I love going to New York. If someone invited me to New York right now, I would say yes and I would go with them. If someone invited me to Texas, I'd be on the next flight out. If someone invited me to Chicago, I would be right there this weekend. But California has never been something where I'm like, I have to go, I have to go. So when he told me I could go with him, I was like, okay. And as the trip got closer, I was like, you know what, like I really don't want to go. And my partner kept saying, you have your corporate office over there, you could go check it out and meet your teammates. You could also just go somewhere for pretty much free because the hotel was paid for by his company and I would only have to really book my flight. And with that, I could easily use points or even accumulate points and, get a nice flight in the future. So I ended up going, and I think because of how on the whim it was, I was not able to plan it out as good as I like to plan trips. Typically, before a trip, and like you all have seen in my other videos and in my Google Docs that I share, I am a very organized person when it comes to traveling. I like to know, Lyft fare, how much that's going to be, or when we'll have to take a Lyft. I like to know what restaurants I need to check out. I want to know what activities. And for this trip, because it was so on a whim, I really only had, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks to plan ahead on what I wanted to do. Luckily, our stay was accounted for, and I did buy flights when he first told me about it. It was just a matter of like, did I really want to go? Because I could have gotten a refund for it. But luckily, the flight and hotel were booked out in advance. There are 3 things that we did while in San Francisco. Mind you, none of these 3 things require a lot of planning in advance. So if you're going to San Francisco on a whim and you aren't, having months to plan the trip, I definitely think these 3 things are something you can fit into your schedule and something that you'll be able to do while you're there. So the first item on my list, and this one I think I did plan, at least 1 week out. And now that I think about it, I wish I could have planned it more in advance because there's more options, but it is to ride a ferry around San Francisco's bay. And it's called the Bay Area for a reason. It has a huge bay. From our hotel room, we could see the ships docking with these huge cargo ships. And so it's really relevant, I would say, to San Francisco. And so definitely check out the bay. And if you are able to do a ferry tour, do that, because the ferry tour, it took us to look at Alcatraz from the boat. We were able to see it and get a history lesson of it. I have watched the Escape from Alcatraz documentary before. I'm really big in history and documentaries. So for me, I was like, if I'm going to San Francisco, which I'm not really trying to go, what if I do go? This is the one thing on my list. Like, I have to see Alcatraz. So I'm happy I was able to do that. I'm a little saddened that I wasn't able to stop on the island. It's important to note that there's only one ferry that actually drops you off at the island, and that one ferry is actually booked months out in advance. So if you're like me, a history buff, and you really want to actually walk around the island, I believe it's like a half-day tour, so you have to really have enough time in San Francisco, and you have to really plan out months in advance. So I booked our ferry tour 2 weeks in advance, and the only item I was able to book was it's like a 2-hour trip on the ferry. Maybe not even that. It might have been like an hour long. I think it was like an hour long, no more than 2 hours, on a ferry where we got to ride around in the water to go see Alcatraz. We got to basically go all around Alcatraz on the boat. We never stopped. And then we got to go under the Golden Gate Bridge, and that was really nice. That ferry tour is a must do. When you go to the ferry, I will say my tips are to have closed-toe shoes and a jacket, because you might think California, but it is so cold on the water there, and I'm really happy I had a jacket on. I had a long sleeve on underneath my jacket. I had closed-toe shoes. Dion wore a hat, and he had to secure it on his book bag because like the wind was really crazy there. So just be mindful of that. But don't let the cold weather or like the wind deter you. That ferry trip was everything. If I went back to San Francisco, I would do that ferry ride all over again. The second thing that you can do, once again, these are on the whim items. So if you're like me and you just randomly go to San Francisco, this is something that you should be able to pop in for. You don't really need a reservation. It is going to a place called Mama's for breakfast or lunch. We had breakfast there and it was amazing. I loved it so much. I had French toast. There was an omelet as well. I think I got the California omelet. I think that's what it was because it had avocado in it, and Californians are like discovering avocado is great for once in their lives. So I got that. I got the Californian omelet. I'm a big fan of avocado, and I have been before it was cool. I have to make a note of that. But I was able to get that omelet. It was so good. The French toast was amazing. They had fresh squeezed orange juice, and I'm a big fan of that as well. This place was so good. Everyone's plate looked so good around the table, and I will say it's California, so I'm not pitching it for its prices. I'm pitching it for how good the food actually tasted. The last item, if you are going on a whim, something you don't need reservations for, aside from the ferry, which you kind of need to plan in advance, get your tickets maybe like a week before, and Mama's, no reservation, you kind of just walk in and get in line. Chinatown. It is a staple in San Francisco. I had heard about Chinatown from like different movies, and even my past roommate had told me about it because she was from San Francisco. And going there and experiencing Chinatown and just seeing the cultural structures, it was a really great experience. We didn't get to stop for food, but there are so many food places. If you have stopped before, let me know if it actually was amazing. And if you do go in the future, please come back to the comments and tell me, because I want to know if it was good or not. Aside from the different food places and cultural structures and kind of just like really getting to see that side of San Francisco, they also have a lot of souvenir shops. So this is a good time if you're there to get those like little fridge magnets or t-shirts. I wish I would have gotten more souvenirs. I don't think I even got any because I was just like trying to be financially savvy. But I wish I would have now. I really would have loved a fridge magnet of like the Golden Gate or something, but that is the place to get it. All right, those are my 3 items that you can do in San Francisco. Mind you, the 2 of them were completely on a whim. The first one was I just booked like a week or 2 in advance, and I highly recommend all 3 of them. Really, if you don't have much time to plan, these 3 things are amazing. It was a lot of fun. I did them with a group of 3, so just me and 2 other people, and it was the perfect time for us. So yeah, that's how my San Francisco trip went. I hope you were all able to go one day. If you've gone already and you have other items that you think would be really fun, please feel free to drop those in the comments for everyone. And thanks for watching.